What's going on, everybody? What's
Hey
going on?
guys.
It's 3 p.m. It's Tuesday. It's the Ben and
Yes,
Jay
sir.
show. Oh man, little smooth sounds to
Yes,
kind of
sir.
ease out anxieties that everybody is having. What's going on, everybody? I am Jay, one half of this
And
conglomerate of the Ben and Jay show. My man Ben,
my
aka
name
the
is
mayor,
Benergy.
that
The
guy right
they
there,
call me the
Benji right
brain.
there. He's actually on the line, and we just want to get this, pay these bills, as they say, get this out the way. And this webinar is made possible by Access Services. Access Service is a nonprofit serving 11 counties in eastern Pennsylvania with the mission to create better ways to serve people with special needs. They've been doing it for 44 years and are only expanding their services as they bend to fit the needs of those in eastern Pennsylvania. So we definitely want to say shout out to Access Services for powering the Ben and Jay show. Very important key, especially into what they do currently right now. Thank you, Access Services. And
hmm
Ben, what do we have coming up for our raffle? Can you let our audience know?
So we actually have a thank you sponsored by Texas Roadhouse today. Shout out to my man's Texas Roadhouse in Montgomeryville. Eric at Texas Roadhouse General Manager is the best.
Thank you.
It is a dinner for two. So
Oh,
you're entered to win for dinner for two here on the Ben and Jay show, thanks to Texas Roadhouse. And Jamiel, do you want to go?
yes. I'm salivating because Texas Roadhouse happened to be one of my favorites. So steak. Father's Day is coming up, so if you don't want that, you can always send it to me for Father's Day. I'll appreciate that. But anyway, we got a second gift certificate from the folks over at Primal Nutrition, Montgomery County. These guys over there actually supplying this particular section of Pennsylvania with the utmost uh, reliable pricing as far as supplements for your gym. I know that everybody right now is not having a chance to go to the gym, but you can still eat and live healthy. So we're giving away a $25 gift certificate for Primal Nutrition in Montgomery County. Shout out to those folks for giving that to us. So we got two very good prizes today. I'm still salivating over the steak possibly, so don't
Absolutely.
mind me, but we want to make sure before we go into anything, very key and important point right here.
Make sure you
Today, ladies
vote.
and gentlemen, I voted.
Absolutely.
Chante actually voted. Ben is actually going to vote after the show.
Yep.
Kay Lee voted this morning. It is very important with everything that's going on currently right now that we use all platforms possible to express what we don't like and what we want when
Right.
it comes to equality for everyone in this world. That brings us also to another point is that this Thursday at 7 p.m. we have a
Yes,
very,
yes,
very
sir.
important panel. Shante will be a part of that panel as well, where we will be touching on police interactions with our children on the spectrum. We have a lot of information, a lot of great opinions and narratives to actually offer the community. So sign up. We will actually show that link on Thursday a.m. We will give the link for that webinar. Please join us. Pass the information to a friend. And
It's on Zoom.
So, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself? We have a lot of new attendees here for the webinar so they can get to know exactly who the mayor is. Ben, go ahead, tell them about yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Ben Hartranft. I am a 22-year-old awesome autistic person, as we all say we're all awesome. I am on the spectrum. When I was first diagnosed when I was 2, parents thought I had a hearing issue, so they took me to the doctor and they thought everything was going to be okay. 3, a child should only know 200 words, but I only knew 20. Speech therapist taught me how to talk. Her name was Paula Barson. Now today I just talk, and there's no off button on me.
I don't know
And
about
I'm a
that,
homecoming
but
king. I was on Ellen, and I carried this Super Bowl trophy for the Eagles.
there you go.
It's
That's a
pretty
lot.
awesome.
That's pretty awesome. That is a lot. Not to mention, you inspired people like Chante, who actually got to meet you previously in the past. So that's a real big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's pretty dope. The list goes on and on about Ben. I don't think he gives himself too much credit, but he deserves all the credit and more.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that is my main man, Ben, my family, my brother, whatever you want to call it. That's my man.
Absolutely.
That's my ace boom coom, as they used to say back in the day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Shows you how old
I haven't heard that in a minute.
exactly. See, it shows you how old I am. But ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jamiel Owens. I am one half of this show. A lot of people know me from my show, which was on online radio called The Ausome Show, where it was imperative that my mission is to speak to fathers of those children that are on the spectrum. Often, two times, our ego and our self-driven motivation gets in the way of actually feeling what we need to feel when it comes down to the diagnosis of our children. So I spoke out to a lot of fathers on that show. I also gave out information for the mothers and the mothers to actually speak as well, because we're all in the community together, and it's very therapeutic. I am a father of an awesome 12-year-old boy named Shane. He is the inspiration of everything that I do when it comes down to the community. When it comes down to serving my community, it's things that I need for him to see as he grows older. Ben hit me up and was like, "Hey Jay, while we're doing this COVID-19 thing, we can't forget about these awesome children and individuals on the spectrum. We need to do something." And I was down for actually putting together this show with him. I'm his co-host. He is the brains. I'm the muscle, and we make the Ben and Jay show. So, Ben, there's one particular point that you actually like to say as a quote on why you decided to start that show. What is that point?
So I was walking home one day, Jamel, and I said to myself, I really want to start it. I did the panel in April, and I'm like, why don't we do have other guests? So our first guest, and this is actually our 8th show, which is crazy so far.
It is.
Our first show was Rachel Barcelona. She was a woman who has autism, and she was on the pageant for Miss America.
Yes.
She is incredible woman.
Shout out to Rachel.
Then we had a great guest. Her name was Julia Featherman. I met her at an inclusion festival.
Yep.
And then she has a brother with autism with special needs. And then we got to interview different people down the line. We had an opportunity to talk with Max and Matthew.
Who will be a part of the panel on Thursday. Yep.
Yep. And then, yeah, they're going to be part of our panel on Thursday. We talked with, what's her name? Julia Parrish Morris from Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Yep. Shout out to Julia.
To Max and Matthew again. We talked to Pixar. We had a great opportunity to talk with Pixar.
There you go. Bobby, what's going on? Shout out to you guys. But it was one thing in particular, Ben, that you said is you don't want people to feel alone in this time. That really struck a chord with me. And made me want to participate with you in this. So, I mean, that's definitely our real motto here is we don't want you guys to feel alone. And I think more than ever now, with everything that's going on, we definitely need to band together a little bit more. And just no matter what the color barrier is, we just all need to come together, because we are battling this amongst other things the same way. So definitely with that.
And then with the panel on Thursday, it's going to be really interesting to hear about like Tom, like last week's guest, Tom Island, like how are we going to handle some of this stuff? And it comes from different urban communities, as you said before.
Yep. There you
Absolutely.
go. Right. You're definitely right. Definitely right. Well, let me just give a brief introduction of our guest today, Chante Douglas.
Oh, you didn't introduce yourself? Oh, you did? Did you introduce yourself?
Oh, did you want me to go?
I know it's not as much as you've been, but I did introduce myself. It's a little.
I just want to make sure you introduce yourself.
I know they were just like, oh, this guy that's talking is okay. The real star here is Ben and Chante. So you know, I'm just the referee here. I'm just the MC. But everybody, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a mother to a child that's on the spectrum. Not only having to cope with feelings of guilt, depression, confusion, and anger when the labeling of your child comes into play, but also with the thoughts of what will my child be in this world? We are in unprecedented times around the world in history right now. Chante refused to be in those statistics with the odds of quote unquote life that's up against her. And simply put, she made lemonade out of lemons. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into Chante's incredible story. just one moment. But also, once again, we want to invite you to that panel Thursday, 7
Yeah,
p.m.
Thursday night.
We will have Chante there, as well as a list of other guests from law enforcement, autism services, advocates, parents, and more as we discuss children and adults on the spectrum and police interactions. To sign up for this informative webinar, you have your voice heard. We'll give you a chance to actually impose some questions and actually some comments and your thoughts. You could go to Access Services Facebook page. You could go to my page, which is on IG and Facebook, which is the Ausome Show. That's THAUSOM Show, and that's on Facebook and IG. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our guest today, the wonderful, the strong, the talented woman, mother, advocate, able leader, Miss Chante Douglas. Miss Douglas.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to go off the first question off the bat. Chante, thank you for joining us today. I remember meeting you at one of my autism awareness events. It was probably Huddle Up. Yeah, it was Huddle Up.
Exactly.
And it was great to be here. It's great to be here with you again.
Okay.
All right.
Definitely good. You got the second question too?
I'm ready for the second question. Chante, can you talk about a little bit about your son Levi, starting with birth? What kind of child was he growing up, and what point did you think that he was an issue with your son's development?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I want to say around the time he was about 18, 19 months, he was on time developmental wise. And if you hear him in the background, because he talks nonstop now. But I was working crazy hours back in the day. I was working in the hospital, working 12-hour shifts. So my parents were really the ones that were really watching him. And my mom noticed some things that I didn't notice because I was working, and then was working overnight shifts. So it was like zombie mode. Like, I don't even know how I did it back then, but you know, you got to do what you got to do for your kids. But she had called me and she's like, and I could tell like the tone of her voice, like she wanted to tell me something that I don't want to hear, but she was like, I really think Levi may have early signs of autism. Now, the only thing back then that I knew about autism was I remembered a special on Dateline like years ago where they were saying there was a connection with children with autism and horse therapy. That was the only thing I ever seen. And you got to think this was back, I was young, so you got to think back, this was like the mid 90s.
Absolutely.
So the awareness back then isn't where it is now. So that was really the only thing I remember. And I remember being so fascinated with that animals have a special connection with children on the spectrum and how it helped them develop speech and everything.
We were actually, can I piggyback on what Chante said a little bit, Jamiel?
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
We actually have a friend, and I was talking with her on a radio show on Friday, and her name is Janice Wolf, and she talks about therapy dogs with autism, and she trains service dogs to like, and I loved how you said that that animals have a special way. I think that's so cool, because that means we can all be in a way that we can like we can all pet like a service dog or a service animal. Like, we have to ask them first before we pet them, but it's a way to help people calm down in different ways.
Right. Absolutely.
Definitely agree to that. Chante, Janice definitely had us on service dogs, animal expression. I have a cat personally. I'm a cat man, but I love dogs. And when my son is over, he actually is starting to grow and have been over time learning eye contact and things of those nature. So it's definitely been, and it's definitely a good thing to actually see.
Right. It was hard. I mean, and everyone that's watching right now, like, I get people that ask me all the time now, like, how did you feel and what was the thought process when because I couldn't even get an initial diagnosis because of his age, because they don't technically start diagnosing until they're 3. But he
Wow.
started showing early signs probably before he hit 2. So I was already making moves of getting early intervention even before he hit 3. So he's been getting services since he was about 20 months old, and he's 7 now.
Wow.
So it was hard. Like I cried at the doctor's office, and not because, and I always try to reiterate with people, like, it's not like you're mourning your child. It's just the fear of the unknown. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how's school gonna go? And what's everything that's gonna come with it? Like I just was like drowning. That's really how I felt, like I was drowning. But I built a support system, and social media is the devil sometimes, but it's also a saving grace too if you can network with the right people and just give you that feeling you're not alone. And listen, my child was nonverbal up until he was about almost 4, and you've heard him talk. He's been talking nonstop now. Like it went from like making noises, and like I used to sit in meetings because like the speech therapist would be there, the OT would be there, and the behavior specialist would be there. And I told all of them, I said, listen, progress is progress. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter how insignificant you think it is. It's a big deal. So if he's making noises, that was a good sign that eventually words are going to come. Because if you're making noises, that means your vocal cords are, I mean, I'm no speech therapist, but it's just common sense that eventually something else is going to develop. And I never did the baby talk with him. There was plenty of times he would be like at his grandparents' house, and we would practice talking on the phone. Even if he wasn't saying nothing back to me, I was having a full conversation. Like, hey, how you doing? You having a good time with your grandparents? Like, just keep talking and talking. When I would pick him up from my parents' house, how was your day? Did you have fun? And I just kept going. Like, even though in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know when he's going to have that first moment of like, hi, mom. And now it's like, can I have some juice? Can I have a snack? I'm hungry. It's just nonstop now. But I still get emotional because he really, like, I'm so proud of my child because he really worked hard. Like, yeah, he had the services, but he was willing to be like, listen, I want to communicate. I want to be a part of what's going on around me. And it's not easy. It's really not. Like, some people think like because I got everything that runs smooth, you got to think about the behind the scenes. Like, it's a well-oiled machine, but it's a lot of pieces that go behind that to make it run smooth. So
Definitely.
I'm sorry, I've been piggybacking. I run this.
Good.
Well, you're fine, Glenn. Go ahead.
But you were talking about like therapy and stuff. Like I didn't get speech therapy until I was about we waited 6 months for speech therapy, and when I was about 3. And I had an amazing speech therapist. I talk about her all the time. Paul Barson at Children's Hospital Philadelphia. She is my angel. She is my hero.
Shout out to her for definitely doing her thing with you, Ben. And,
absolutely. No, I even gave a shout out on Ellen too. Like, she is incredible. Yeah. And if you don't know who Paul Barson is, look her up at Children's Hospital Philadelphia. If you ever need a speech therapist, you should talk about her. She is incredible woman.
That's what's up. And I mean, just to piggyback off of what you guys say, I know a little bit about therapies too. Just speaking a little bit about my son, when it came down to him actually eating, I remember that it was a very long time where it was only milk with the formula with DHA in it. I remember this because I had to buy it every single time. It was French toast sticks and McDonald's French fries. Those 3 things were the only 2 things that he actually ate. It became very trying and very hard for me and his mother at that time until she found out about CHOP's feeding program. At the time, I wasn't working, so I was able to actually take him to the feeding program, which we had to stay at CHOP. We couldn't leave the building Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it was for 30 days. So for a whole month, that's what I was doing. It was very exhausting. It was very it kind of hurt me a little bit to hear my son crying, screaming to the top of his lungs because he couldn't understand why he couldn't have his toy, part of the actual process of getting them to actually eat different things, different textured foods. But it paid off in the end. Now I can hardly keep food from him, so it's
Right.
good.
It's kind of like me, Jamel. That's a I want to piggyback back what you said.
Uh,
Easter seals. They taught like when my parents took me to preschool, that
mhm.
or like elementary school, whatever. They snuck in different foods in my lunch so they
Okay.
can so that I can eat like vegetables and stuff. But
Okay.
then I really didn't like vegetables growing up. But then when I was serving at Mano on Main Street, a local food bank in Lansdale, shout out to Mano on Main Street.
Okay.
They literally, when I got to eat their meals, I really loved broccoli, and all of a sudden, I just was like, "Wow, I love broccoli now." So I
Hmm.
love corn and broccoli. So it's just, but I did different foods. I even tried different foods at Manna. Now my taste buds are really exciting.
That's
Yeah,
good. That's
that's
good.
awesome.
Now, Chante, you basically went into my next question, our third question, but I kind of want to get pinpoint that exact moment. Just at the moment that you found out that your son was diagnosed with autism, what was the feeling that consumed your mind at that exact moment? Well, you already mentioned too that you couldn't really get a diagnosis, so let's use that pinpoint. What did you feel after hearing that?
Honestly, I felt lost. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you build a connection with your child and then you get something thrown at you that now you got to try to find a new way to reconnect with him. And yeah, it was crazy. And like I said, before we even got the diagnosis, he was still doing like early intervention services. And during that time, you got to think like a child that's completely nonverbal. We're in the between the terrible twos and the terrible three stage. So he was head banging,
Mhm.
biting, scratching, screaming. So it was like sometimes I'm sitting through the therapy sessions. I'm like, I don't even want to do this because you don't see the end in sight. You know what I'm saying? Like you're thinking in the moment, like he's not, he doesn't want to do this. I'm stressed out and I'm a single parent, so I don't have the other half to kind of piggyback off of to get that emotional support. I had to carry the whole entire weight of what two parents have to, they can kind of bounce off each other for support. I didn't have that. I mean, I had my family, but it's just me and him that live together. So, I didn't have like, babe, can you, sit in on this session and I just need
Mhm.
like 5 minutes to myself. I didn't get that. Um, if I had to go back and do everything differently, I wouldn't. I would do everything exactly the same. To see where he's at now, I would do exactly the same. I would go through the same emotions, everything. I wouldn't change anything.
Mm.
That's good. I could definitely relate to that. It is I'm not going to say autism is, but just the effects of autism is one of the leading causes in divorce when it comes to two parents with that child. Unfortunately, I am a statistic of that, and it really came down once again just the processing of feelings and emotions and just actually being there. Just that sentence is powerful enough of actually just being there and not being aware of the situation, but actually being. But it's commendable for you because I guess it's something that some people would be like, oh well, that's what a mother is supposed to do. No, a mother is supposed to do that and more. But what you're
Hmm.
giving her credit for is the fact that she took herself out of a woman's place to place into two separate orbits, which is a male and a woman's orbit, in order to care for this child. That is very difficult because we can't sit there as men, sit back and say, "Oh, well, I can care for my child and give the love of that a mother gives to their child, whether it be son or daughter." It's a very hard thing. So that's a
Right.
commendable role that you're actually doing and continue to do, and we applaud you for it. Definitely.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Unimaginable. What exactly was Levi diagnosed when finally that diagnosis had happened? What was he diagnosed with?
Okay, so at the time that I got his diagnosis, they officially diagnosed him with autism spectrum disorder. They at that time they changed the terminology because there used to be like 3 different categories of autism, and then the child behavior psychologist was like, well, since then we've just said now it's just autism spectrum disorder. On top of that, he had a speech disorder, but since he didn't start speech therapy yet, we couldn't get like a clear speech diagnosis yet until he turned 3. So when he turned 3, we went through another evaluation. And shout out to Spin, who they were the ones who initiated all of his services as far as speech, OT, physical therapy. That's when they officially said he has echolalia. So then I started looking up what echolalia is, and because it's actually technically, and I'm not even gonna say normal, but it's part of the developmental stage of kids, but you're supposed to outgrow it.
Can you go into exactly what that is, just in case someone in the audience is not familiar with the terminology?
Oh yeah, so echolalia is the best way I can describe it is like an echo. So you know, like if you hear something, you repeat it. So he's so like, it's actually like, I look at it as a gift because this kid can imitate a car engine. He can imitate every single sound in Super Mario games. He can imitate like anything he hears. Yeah, and Sonic, yes.
My son
And
loves Sonic.
Get Levi over here for a minute. I want to say hi.
You want to say hi? Levi, you want to come here? Come here. Say hi.
Hi, buddy.
Hi, everybody.
Yo, what's up,
And he got a
man?
haircut. You show off your haircut?
What's up, Levi?
Yeah.
Did you say something about Sonic?
Okay.
You know any Sonic stuff?
You know Sonic? You like Sonic? Say hi, Mr. Ben. Hi. Say hi, Mr. Jamiel. Hi.
Hey, what's up? Getting it in on some food, I see. That's what's up.
Candy. He think he's slick right now because he's eating candy and I'm not paying attention right now. So I'm gonna let him have it because
That's it. Get it.
It's in the kitchen. And kidding.
yeah, like but
But
Yeah,
Sometimes
so-
we all have to misbehave. I know.
that's just being a kid. So like, listen, that's fine. But yeah, so echolalia actually, well, I won't jump ahead, but I'll explain like why I took like certain things of my son's life and kind of transformed it into the book that I did. So, but yeah, I'm such a advocate of looking up stuff and researching because I don't want to look like an idiot when I'm out with my son or I'm trying to explain. Even now, like when you were talking about like relationships and stuff, things are getting better between me and his dad. We are trying to have a more positive co-parenting after I had to really kind of like read him like hard. But like I told him, I said it's imperative, and if there's any fathers that's watching, it's imperative, regardless of whatever your kids' needs are, you gotta be there. You gotta be that male presence in their life. You know what I'm saying? And especially with my son, like I told him, he acts totally different with his dad than with me. Like he knows, like, Mom, we got to do therapy, we got to do school, we got to do homework, we got to do this. I mean, I do a lot of fun stuff with him too, but with his dad, he's like, come on, we're gonna do this, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna get some water ice, So I told him, like, your presence matters.
When this is all over, I'm hoping it's over soon. We should definitely go to like a theme park or go get water ice or something.
Yeah, he loves water ice. So
He loves roller coasters. Don't worry, we'll go to Six Flags one day.
Oh my goodness, you'll never get him to leave.
That's like me.
There's the man.
Yes.
That's definitely good. Once again, especially for me, hearing that it is being done, and it's being done because a woman, a mother, actually came to the other parent and said, listen, like stripping all the anger, what happened in the past way, I need your help. And for him to actually hear that call, try to process that and set everything to the side is really good. It really starts with us as men first, trying to evaluate what's inside us that's hindering us from the growth of our child. So it is commendable for him to actually be trying. It's always first with a try. That's what anything in life, you got to try.
Absolutely.
So definitely, it's baby steps to get into this. It definitely is baby steps. minus anything that, perspective or any opinion in the past, any angle. It was definitely commendable for you guys. Definitely keep working on that. I want to get to the next question with you because it's very important. I think everybody is experiencing this. We're going to talk more about this with you and other guests on Thursday. But the question is, with everything that is currently happening today, George Floyd, the incident with him, and COVID-19, how has your communication with Levi about these things been? Is there any method that you use that you could share with another mother that may be watching or listening to this that can help her with her child?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think like right now, I try to just keep it as peaceful and as calm as possible at home for him because it's already kind of thrown off his whole routine with the quarantine.
Mhm.
George Floyd, man. It really took me to another place. Not saying it's been taking me to a different place the last few years of what's been going on in the brown and black community, but just seeing that on film last week, and I had a big discussion on my Facebook page, and I know I made some people mad, but sometimes you got to get uncomfortable to have a dialogue to move forward. And you
Mhm.
can't sugarcoat stuff and you can't just skate by stuff. And I said, listen, if you love me and you love my child, you have to be enraged just as much as I am about what's going on
Mhm.
in the world today. It goes hand in hand, and it don't work if we're friends and you've been around my child and we're like family. You got to
Mhm.
have that same mindset. That could have very easily be my child. You know what I'm saying? Like he could be the next battle cry for justice, and I don't want that to happen. So what
No,
can I do to be a voice in the
absolutely,
community? You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. And that's what I wanted to piggyback on you said. That's what I really like to call the news stations. I really like calling people to let them know, look, this is a serious topic that we need to talk about. And
Mhm.
I'm excited for Thursday because we're really going to dive into more of this conversation
Mhm.
about urban communities, about police force.
Mhm.
Right,
And this is going to be something that everybody needs to be trained on.
right.
Now, just to go off what Ben said is that this Thursday, if anybody out there has any possible connection with news, law enforcement, those who are in a law position, please invite them to join the webinar. We are basically full of a panel of African American and Caucasian individuals, both male and female, parents, those on the spectrum alike. So you're going to be getting a perspective of all different kinds on the topic. We're going to be speaking with things such as the incident with George Floyd. We're going to talk about previous incidents. We're going to talk about what's going on right now. We're going to talk about more specifically our children and how we can actually help with their interactions with law enforcement. And this interaction help actually goes both ways, not only
Hmm.
for the parents and those individuals with friends and family on the spectrum, but also law enforcement. So it is imperative. Don't forget to share that information. I wanted to piggyback off of you, Ben, um, about that. So, Ben, you do have the next two questions. You can go ahead and
Absolutely.
ask Chante.
Um, yes, I will ask them. So Chante, can you speak about your amazing development on your comic book, Echo Boy, and why and how did this come about?
Oh man. Okay. So a little bit of background about my writing journey. I started writing back in high school. I want to shout out my English teacher who I still talk to on Facebook.
That's what I'm
Um,
talking about.
this is Stan. And I always tell her like anytime that I'm
What
like
high
in the middle
school
of
did
a
you go to?
project, huh?
What high school?
Cheltenham High School, class of 2000. I'm extremely old, but it is what it is.
I went to North Penn, class of 2017.
Oh,
So,
make me feel even more old, Ben. Thank you. I'm joking. But yeah, she was the one who really ignited the love of writing. I remember just being able to do a lot of creative writing. Fast forward to about, I want to say 3 years ago, I was writing poetry. So I do have two poetry books for parents. So if they want to go on Amazon It was written just specifically as a single parent, emotions of a parent taking care of a child with special needs. I talk about mental health. I talk about my fears, my dreams for Levi, even some frustrations with his dad, because I think that's important too, because there's a lot of single parents out there. I'm just really transparent in those books, so that's on Amazon too. But I took Levi to go see Enter the Spider-Verse. So we're sitting there, and one of the stemming, if no one knows what stemming is really kind of like, you can kind of describe it too, Ben. That
he goes like
yeah,
that.
like really
exactly.
like a repetitive.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, like a repetitive movement to kind of help regulate those emotions. Like the rest of us can get excited and we can kind of control it, but people on the spectrum.
I was talking about Mark. I think it's
Yeah.
Marcus. Or what's the character in the Spider-Verse
Oh,
movie?
Miles.
Okay, I thought it was Miles. I couldn't remember his name.
That's okay.
But
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so when we were sitting in the theater, I'm very aware of people and how they kind of like how their behaviors are, and I always have this look on my face like, if you want to say something, say it, but he's not bothering anybody. So he was sitting there, he was humming, and that's one of his things. Like when he's really excited about something, it'll start low and be like, and it just gets louder. And I'm sitting there getting excited because I'm like, he did not move his seat at all. And that movie's like 100, like what is it, like an hour and like 45 minutes tops? I think that movie is. Didn't move. I mean, the fact that he had that, even now, like he knows the difference between Miles Morales Spider-Man and the other Spider-Man. Like he's like, oh, that's Miles, but then that's Spider-Man. But that's where it sparked the idea of, I said, well, I really want to write a book / comic book kind of feel to it that to represent my child, how I see him every day. And you don't see kids with autism, Black kids with autism, that are superheroes, and they're fighting against bullying. You know what I'm saying? So when I started to develop the story, it was really easy writing Levi because that's my son, but and shout out to my illustrator, Reggie Byers, who is extremely, extremely talented. He's in Philly too.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be possible without him pouring his love and support into my story. Because I really didn't have to give him too much direction. I just told him how I wanted like little details. And then I said, you have full creative control as far as how you want the rest of the background characters to look, but I thought it was imperative to add ABC girl because you don't see Black girls with autism represented enough.
Wow.
And I drop a little jewels in that book, not to be like overbearing because it still is a children's book, but when you go back and you start looking at, once I start explaining stuff, you'll go back and look at the book like, oh, okay, I get it now. Even
and
with
you know
their
what? Speaking, go ahead. And I was gonna say, speaking of girls, like when I was in elementary school, I had a friend. Her name was Sarah. She was Indian, but but sometimes people on the spectrum talk differently. Like she repeats words and does different stuff, and it's actually really cool to bring up like people like that.
Yeah, it's important because they live and walk among us too. They need to be represented. You know what I'm saying? And I even made it a point to, the reason I named her ABC Girl was because literacy is extremely important. And it's a resource we take for granted, and it's a resource that's very limited in the Black and brown community. And I said, how empowering would that be to have a little Black girl who has autism, but she's in love with the alphabet. And that's why I gave her a glitter crayon. And she's connected to Echo Boy because she knows that his communication is limited, but he's a visual learner. So she takes that crayon and can make visual aids for him when she's talking to him.
Wow.
So, and I just pull different things that's really just a reality that you don't see in literature. And I was so nervous putting this book out. I'm not even going to lie to both of you. I was so nervous, like, because I was talking about a lot of things, and people like to sugarcoat a lot of stuff in children's books, like kids are stupid, and they're not. Like there's real issues out there that it's affecting them too. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell y'all one quick story. I went to the Green Tree School on Washington Lane, if anyone is familiar with that school. And they do a lot of services for kids who maybe their neighborhood school can't provide those services, so they go to the Green Tree School for maybe 4 hours of the day, three, depending on what their IEP is requiring them to. So I went there and I did a book reading for like, I think like 5 or 6 classes. So I was nervous because I am the worst with public speaking. Like that gives me anxiety. Like you will
No,
not believe.
I'm very. If
You're on here in public speaking now, so we
please
can't
let me
tell.
know.
Yeah, like being like this is fine, but if there was like 30 people in front of me right now, I'd be like,
I got
but,
this. I've done 200 people.
See?
oh my goodness, see, like, but I was nervous only because kids are brutally honest. So if I get feedback from them, then I know like where to gauge, like, okay, do I need to go back and like tweak the story? Do I need to like next time do something different? And when I say when I finished reading the book, the kids that were sitting right in front of me, because I had a little dialogue while other kids were coming in, they wanted to talk about superheroes. I said, so what's your favorite superhero? And it was like, oh, I like Iron Man, I like Black Panther, I like Thor, I like the Hulk. I was like, okay, all right. So when I started reading the book and I finished it, the one kid, he was like, so where's the second book at? And I was like, I didn't write it yet, but when I do, I will make sure I come back and I read it to you. And then this little girl, when I say it took every me not to cry, but she came up to me and she was like, I've been bullied, and that book really just like, at that point I was like, just rip my heart out, like I was really like, I can't cry in front of these kids. Whatever you do, do not cry. And so I gave her a copy of the book right there, and I said, and I signed it for her, and I gave her a copy of the book, and the hug she gave me, like that energy still stays with me. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, I know I'm doing something right. I'm in the right direction as far as really spreading the message of inclusion, diversity, anti-bullying, awareness. You know what I'm saying? And it's important. It's extremely important. Like we gotta teach our future generation early so that they can grow and be the next pioneers in battling not corona but racism and other types of discrimination against people with disabilities and people that are not heard and feel invisible. So yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of people that actually I had a gal who went to my high school, and her name is Gabby Frost, and she does stuff for mental health. She's like a CEO of the Buddy program.
Okay.
Nice.
And it's actually really cool because I just love making networks of different connections. When you talked about mental health, I'm like, wow, I want to get more and more people connected in different services.
Yeah. It's definitely important. Like I'm very transparent about going back to what you were saying, Jamiel, about how I was feeling early on. Um Not to put like the whole situation between me and his dad, but it was extremely toxic to the point where I didn't take care of my mental health about that because I was so focused on giving 1,000% of what Levi needed and to make sure he was progressing and being supported and making sure I was at every meeting, every therapy session, every doctor's appointment, every surgery, or whatever the situation was. And then people were telling me, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care. I'm like, yeah, I know. And it was to the point I would feel guilty of asking my parents to watch him just because I needed time to myself because they were already doing it while I was at work, and I'm pulling, 40 hours a week and, overtime just so that, bills can get paid and food's on the table and clothes are on his back. You know what I'm saying? So for a long time, like I was like, no, because I just feel like, it's just going to be a lot. That's what was going through my mind. And I think 5 years later, I had a complete emotional breakdown at the end of 2019 because your brain can only take so much. And I reached out through my job that provided employee assistant. It was employee assistant program, and I called them and they linked me up to a therapist, and I've been with her since December. She was the one that diagnosed me with PTSD. So those times that I was having panic attacks and I was getting agitated and my heart was racing and I couldn't sleep and I was having migraines, those were episodes and I didn't realize it. So you got to think like 5 years of having all those issues. And I was pushing that to the side because I'm like, oh, I got to get Levi to school. Oh, I got to go to an IEP meeting. Or I got to go this. I got to do that. I got to do this. I got to do that. And you got to take care of you first, because if you're not where you need to be, you are no good to your kids at all. So, and don't be afraid of going to see it, especially now with everything going on. Listen, it's so important. And there's so many free services out there that you can look up through Google. That, you can just talk to somebody. Listen, you can even
Chante?
talk to me and text me. I'm always, that's what people just need, like someone just to like vent to.
Yeah.
I want to basically say something because you brought up a very good point of a toxic situation when it comes down to Levi's father. With no disrespect to him, because I don't know him, I could probably pretty much gauge where he was because I was in this position by myself. I had a lot to be angry about in the world. Those were feelings that recently just came down, and really, it was just really by the grace of God that allowed me to really release that anger. At that time, I've said it in a lot of things that I wrote, a lot of articles that I wrote, even on my show when I had the show. There was a point in the time where I was just like, "Yo, I can't do this. I need to be out." And it was really because a self-evaluation of me, who I was, needed to take place. I needed to remove the ego, the macho-ness. I needed to remove the arrogance. I needed to remove all these things, the guilt, the foreseeance of me knowing the future. I had to remove these layers from myself first in order to be a vital companion, friend, team player to my, at that time, wife, which is my son's mother. Unfortunately, I wouldn't do that. Instead of me doing that, I will find other outlets, which will be going out drinking, hanging around, talking to various females. I'm being as open as possible. These were the things that were taking away my time and my abilities to process the extra amount of love that I had to put into this child to make sure that they grow up to absolutely be different. Because this society and this world, funny enough, we talk about differences in everybody and how we should embrace them, but yet we always say that we want our children on the spectrum to be like other kids. No, we need them to actually be different. So it took me a while to actually do that. And it seems like currently right now, he is actually on the process of dealing with himself and getting those emotions out. That's going to play a very, very pivotal and key part with Levi's development. And like I said, I definitely do know that. And I tell people all the time on my show, and even the mothers were able to reach out to me because I gave them the aspect from a man's point of view as far as what we were actually going through, some of the reasons why, and what should be the next steps. But us here at Access Services, the Ben and Jay Show, the Ausome Show, can always reach out to us with questions, comments, concerns, or even just a shoulder to lean on. Mental health is definitely a very key issue right now, especially with what's going on. You bring that up. It's very much a very.
I'm glad you really brought that up, because that's something that really a lot of people are dealing with, and with this times going around of our city and times that are going around in our world and stuff, and it brings related to people on the spectrum. It's just like, what's going to happen to my son if this happens? I'm like, no, we need to be protective, and we need to get involved, and we need to get our children awesome as they can be.
Exactly.
Definitely. Ben, you got the next question, number 7, buddy. You on it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love the fact that you used your book to address bullying and diversity and racism in the autism community? Where are these things that you and Levi are and face in life, or things that you've helped others face and want to set to still speak about them?
Well, currently, like right now, I still consider him in that like that little bubble of, you know, kids being like just want to play together. He's not at that age yet where we face the bullying as of yet. But what I can tell parents right now, like what I'm battling right now is with his school. The school district, Philadelphia School District just needs to really step it up as far as improving their special education programs. It is a complete dumpster fire. This is the second time I had to get a lawyer involved because they're not complying with his IEP again. He's not getting enough speech. He's not getting enough OT. And if there's parents that are looking for legal representation, there are a lot of lawyers that work pro bono because the school district has to pay them.
Actually,
For those services. So don't think it's a money issue of trying to get legal assistance to get your child. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I could ask my parents, but when we went to when the school basically gave up on me on reading and writing, we found a great lawyer. I forget their name, but they're an agency up somewhere. I have to find out the name of it. I forget the name.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I've just been telling like a lot of parents lately because I actually had someone I went to high school with. She hit me up. She's having issues with her daughter's school, but she's in Montgomery County. So I'm like, I really need to kind of broaden my connections because I know like not saying like, oh, I know everybody in Philly. I don't, but I have a lot of resources in Philly. But Montgomery County is like a separate entity when it comes to special education. So stuff doesn't like roll over from Philly to Montgomery County because they're two different counties. So, but honestly, I wrote it because I kept seeing a lot of it on social media. A lot of bullying as far as just the low tolerance for people with special needs. Like it was just really sickening to see, people using the R word. That grinds my gears. Like, and people will know me. Like, if you're around me, don't use that word because number one, people with intellectual disabilities, that's out of their control. They were born that way. Same thing with people with autism. They have no control over that, nor is it a deficit. And society has to get out of that mindset that because you're quote unquote not normal, there's something wrong with you. No, there needs to be neurodiversity as well. There are a lot of brilliant minds. Oh, go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
I found the name of it. I'm gonna send you a link right now.
Okay. So it's extremely important to celebrate all of people's differences. And it really just starts at home too. And I think like with this book, hopefully when even parents with kids that are not on the spectrum and they're neurotypical, it'll open that dialogue. Just like I want people to open that dialogue about police brutality and racism. Have that dialogue with your kids about, listen, there's a kid in your class, you see him doing a repetitive motion. See, Echo Boy was doing that and he's stimming because he's excited. And I have a friend in my class that repeats words over and over again. That's like Echo Boy. Like I want that positive reinforcement that if you have a speech disorder or you have autism or you have cerebral palsy or you have whatever is going on that society is kind of trying to make you feel like an outsider, I want that to be celebrated.
So can Kaylee let me share my screen real quick because I found the website. So this is the website. It's a special needs and they help people with law enforcement and stuff.
Okay.
And they're actually located in Philadelphia. They actually are a great organization.
McAndrews. Me and Shane's mom used them as well. Yeah.
Okay.
We do know them. They are very good people.
Absolutely.
Very committed to what they're actually do. So yeah, I actually I actually remember McAndrews. Yep. So they
Okay.
are a law office with various locations that you can see. They
Yeah.
could definitely help you when it comes down to legal issues with the school district or any situation with any schooling. They'll be able to assist you. So definitely give them a call.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely good
And
stuff.
would they help in Montgomery County? Because I can forward this to a friend of mine because she
Yes,
needs someone
yes,
to.
because that's
Okay.
what they did for North Penn. Because I went
Okay.
to North Penn, and North Penn gave up on me on reading and writing, and we basically took the school district to court for transportation because they wouldn't provide me transportation up to the school I went to. So basically, this is a great resource tool.
Yeah.
And I saw them at the Inclusion Festival last year, and I couldn't remember the name, so I looked it up on my Instagram, and I was like,
Okay.
oh my gosh, perfect. So this is the, if any parents are out there and the schools are giving you trouble or anything, just keep fighting. Use this resource that I'm using this link to. Call me.
But definitely too, access services does take care of those counties as well. So you want to advise her, she can actually look on access service website for more
Okay.
information about the services that we do offer here at access services. We'll be more than willing to help her. She can contact the Ben and Jay show if she needs any others. We'll be more than obliged to help her as well. I'm going to kind of like speed it up so we can get people to actually interact with you. So I'm gonna do
Okay.
two questions in one. You have a personal initiative for your community, locally and globally. I want you to speak about that, what you've been doing with that initiative, and also two, PTSD, which is very important to speak about because a lot of parents, and I've seen this personally, would post on Facebook several autism peer mentor groups where people are just saying things like, "I can't take this anymore. I give
Yeah.
up. I feel defeated today." I want you to share a little bit about what therapy has done for you as a
Mm-hmm.
parent, and also how has Levi himself, being who he is, wonderful, how has he helped you with your PTSD as well?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. My therapist was blunt because as I was telling her, like, I'm overwhelmed and I'm stressed out, and she's like, the more I keep talking to you, she's like, your son has every single type of support. She's like, what are you doing for you? And I really couldn't give her an answer. And I'm just like, no, you do have a point. She's like, you really need a lot of you time. And that can be as small as, once he goes to sleep, try to watch a movie or listen to some music. So a really good tip, and parents don't have to take this tip or not, but like say he's in the middle of a meltdown, like we had like a really rough day with services or whatever, and it takes a while to kind of get him to kind of re-regulate. I kind of absorb all those feelings too because I'm in the middle of that with him.
Mhm.
So to kind of reset me, I listen to classical music,
Mhm.
specifically Beethoven,
Okay.
and there's a specific jazz song that, matter of fact, I'll look it up right now for you because I
Okay.
don't know the name off the
Okay.
top of my head, but both
I'm a
of those
jazz
songs.
I'm a jazz aficionado. Don't let it be one of my good ones, because then I'm gonna definitely vibe with you on that. Definitely vibe. And I can put you on to some real good jazz ones, though.
I know the Beethoven song is the Sonata 40.
Very good choice.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. I got it. So, In a Sentimental Mood. So, it's John Coltrane and Duke Ellington.
What I tell yo, listen,
Yeah.
you just all right. Well, first off, all my fans out there, we just gonna go off topic, but one of my favorite movie is Love Jones, and In the
Yes. That's,
Sentimental Mood is actually playing in
yep.
the part where
Yep.
Nia and
Lorenz Tate.
yeah, when they're
Yeah.
falling in love and
Yes.
they're going through
Such a
the
great
park
movie.
and they're just two lovebirds, just new love.
Yep.
So people, you see, you got me smiling now. I'm gonna put you on to some other jazz stuff. But what
Yeah.
people don't realize about jazz is that when you go to listen to jazz, people might just hear a bunch of noise. When you sit down at a jazz club or if you're at home listening to jazz, jazz can be the music to your own story. So when you're sitting there and you're listening to the notes, whatever you imagine that's going on right now with that as your background music, is the purpose of
Absolutely.
jazz, to actually relax you, to give you a deeper meaning behind things, to depict the story. So you said
Absolutely.
that. That's a very good. You got me very, very happy today. That's a good one. That is definitely a good one. But I'm sorry. Go ahead back to your what you were saying.
um, honestly, and this is the one thing used to grind my gears where people be like, well, you gotta try to find like some time away from, your child. And that's all well and good, but who are you going to trust to watch your child so you can go out and just take a walk or something? And that's why I'm really fortunate now that things have gotten better between me and his dad, because now he's like, I'll take him for the weekend and I just get to relax. I don't even have to go anywhere. Let me just get a glass of wine and watch a comedy or just listen to some music and relax. Not everyone has that luxury. For the parents who don't have that support system, there are a lot of on Facebook, and just make sure you do your thorough. Like right now, it's kind of difficult because of the COVID,
Proud
and
Autism Parents is a great one.
yeah, just find someone reputable to
Yeah.
just spend like, listen, I just need like an hour. Like, can you just be with him for an hour, and just make sure like whoever the person is, they're trustworthy, they have knowledge of
And
meeting your child's
also,
needs. Yeah.
I also want to give a special shout out to my family members. When we didn't have to get a babysitter because we were so fortunate that they lived in our area. So my
Right.
dad's side lives in Hatboro, and my mom's side lives in up in Souderton area. So I was so thankful for them because it really, really, really meant a lot that that you have family in your area that you trust and that are there to help you and be supportive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um,
You got to
it's
meet my
just
aunts someday. My aunts are my one of my aunts. Her name is Debbie Rank, and she teaches at Cedar Grove Academy.
okay.
Yeah, down in
Nice.
Philadelphia.
Okay.
Go
But
ahead. You were
And
saying?
she's a reading teacher. She learned how to do Wilson and stuff.
Oh,
I don't know if
nice.
you
oh,
heard of
okay.
Wilson
There you
program.
go.
So when your son gets older, if he wants to learn how to do Wilson, it's a great reading program.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm always
So
for more resources.
Absolutely,
exactly,
absolutely. I
exactly,
would love to get my aunt on my show one day.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Chante, so you were speaking about the PTSD. So what's your and how his dad is helping you with that? What about your personal initiative for the community? You are having an initiative personally that you are going around the community, well, post pre-COVID, and hopefully would like to continue post-COVID. What exactly is that?
Um, Before COVID, really my passion, no, mental health is extremely important, but my other passion was literacy, and I got to do a community event last September in Camden,
Okay.
which was the children's book festival that was in junction to a street festival. So, people can bring their families out. There was like live music and all these like food tents and people selling merchandise. And then they had a whole section just for children's book authors.
Wow.
And that was the first time I got to debut the book, but it really hit home where a lot of the kids wanted to buy the book and they couldn't because their parents weren't there, or their parents didn't have they didn't have the money to buy the book. So that really hit home when I was driving home, and I said, what can I do going forward that if I'm doing an event, um, do a giveaway or some type of like to give back to the community, because the kids were so excited to see like, oh my God, these superhero kids. And a lot of them didn't even know they had autism. All they seen was like two black kids, superhero, it's colorful, it's fun to look at. And then once I start talking to the parents about the story, they're like, okay, let me get a copy. And I'm like, oh, all right. Like, and I hope you love the story. But going forward, I want to develop a nonprofit organization in the name of Echo Boy and ABC Girl. So their mission outside of what they do in the books will be translated in real life. So if they're helping kids in these stories that I'm writing, I want them to help kids in real life. So what actually
Wow.
I did do in the middle of right before the quarantine happened, I sent copies of the book to a children's hospital out near Hershey.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of those kids did contract the COVID virus, so they were in there recovering.
Yeah.
One of the moms who you probably seen him, Ben and Jamiel. He has blonde hair. He was the one who met Carson last year at the training camp. Remember that video that went like
Viral?
viral? The Eagles had
Viral.
posted it.
Yeah.
Forgot Gio. His name's Gio.
Gavin?
Yeah, Giovanni.
I think his name. Yeah.
Forgot his last name. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see him on Twitter. I can pull it
Yeah,
up right now.
yeah. And his mom, she wanted to put together Easter baskets for the kids because they'll be in the hospital. And
Mhm.
so I had messaged her and I said, listen, I may not be able to do the whole 110 copies of the book, but I can send a few copies to they can keep at the hospital. They can randomly give them to kids. So I want to continue to do that going forward to promote literacy, kind of put smiles on kids' faces. What I did during the quarantine, I had all this merchandise that I had bought because I had like 3 events coming up this year and they all got canceled. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff that I'm like, I said, yeah, I could wait till next year, but I'm like, school shut down. I don't want my son stressed out. So we decided to dress up. And I said, listen, I was going through the closet. We had all these Halloween costumes. So we did a Spider-Man theme. I have a Spider-Man costume. He has one. He was Miles. I was Spider-Man. The next time we read, I was Ariel. He didn't want to be Prince Eric. He said King Levi. So he was King Levi. And
Smart
we
man.
just read books. So
That's what's
it's really just about that connection. I don't want to lose that connection with my community, even though we can't come face to face because of COVID, because of other things going on in the world right now. So once everything settles and we can eventually move back to having that contact, I want to continue doing events. I want to continue doing giveaways like I did back in March. I sent like 10 kids these gift packs. So they either got a t-shirt, a book, stickers, a magnet, a
Oh wow.
keychain.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to bring smiles to, I'm all about just making kids happy. That's close to home to me. So I want to
Oh,
continue to do that. I don't want to stop doing that. So
Absolutely. No, and I'm
that's what's
wondering if there's a thing down the road that we could potentially make your book into a TV show. That's
yeah,
literally my whole goal.
that's
Um,
that's a dream. That's definitely a dream of mine to have him
and
on
something.
Nickelodeon or Netflix.
There you go.
And
That's something we can definitely
yeah,
try to
I
help
might,
her
I
out
might,
with.
I have to write that email to Hershen Entertainment still.
okay.
Okay. We'll go
Yeah,
ahead and
so
do that.
I actually know a friend of mine. Her name is Jamie Hawkins. So they are a theme park company, but they wrote 2 TV shows. I think about the fish one, and then there was like a train one I saw on their website. So I want
Okay.
to tell her about what you did, about how you wrote this book, and it's about you, about the Echo Boy. And if
Yeah.
they say, oh, yeah, Jim Henson, and Jim Henson was one of the founders of like one of the
I
fish.
was in that era. Yes, the Muppets
Mhm.
and Fraggle
So
Rock,
if Jim
and
Henson
Yeah.
says,
I'm
oh
that
yeah, I
80s
would love
Yeah.
kid.
to get connected with this.
Yeah.
I think that would
Yes.
be something dope.
You
That,
said
oh my goodness.
Fraggle Rock.
Like I
Sheesh.
was even thinking about like writing to LeVar Burton, who did Reading
There you go.
Rainbow. If I could
There
get
you go.
him to read my
Oh
book,
yeah.
I would cry.
Yeah.
Like,
Can
That
we
would be
do a huge favor? Can we please? Why don't we write a letter together?
yeah, absolutely. Well, I
we can
already
get it
told
done.
you, you can be in one of my books. You got to make up a superhero
Oh,
name, and
Ben about to be a character, yo. Ben about to be the man.
I
Like,
already
yo.
And listen, I already
um,
talked to Reggie about it. I said, listen, I said, I got this incredible guy who really loved my book. I said he wants to be a character in a
There you
future book.
go.
And I said, why not? Why not?
There you go.
You just
the
gotta
Ben.
only
make up
thing
the name.
I was thinking was, do you want me to do like my story in the book, or do you want to talk about like how we can all be unique and special, just like a rainbow? Maybe my superhero could be a rainbow.
Anything you want. You just gotta write what you want as far as like how you want your character. It won't be like soon, because I still gotta write this next book that's coming for next year, which is like a juggernaut.
There you
But
go. But
it's,
look at
it's no
Ben.
reason why we can't like sit down and like just start doing the outline work of it. Like, what's your superhero character? What's the backstory? How did you meet Echo Boy and ABC Girl? And you
I gotta
can,
read that.
yeah, why not
That's
join the
what's up.
team?
Ben about to be the man in
Yeah,
a book.
and then
But
how I got on Ellen and stuff, and how
there you
I
go. You can write a couple of
Anything
good.
you want. Yeah.
Hey
actually
Ben, we're doing this.
I do have something ready to go. Like I have I've been writing like a picture book idea of like
Hmm.
some stuff, and then my mom wants to write like an adult book for adult version. So maybe if we work together on a kids book,
Yeah.
then we could potentially we could talk about more of this when we get off. But
Yeah. Absolutely.
potentially, I think that'd be really cool because I've been honestly really wanted to get a book started, and I think that'd be really cool. I think something like a rainbow or something like I need a good superhero name, but
I don't
something
know.
like
Think probably the mayor. I think the mayor is definitely a
oh
good
wait, no, I
superhero
got a good one. I could be the mayor of town. I could be the mayor of city.
There you
name.
go.
There you go.
I could be the mayor of
I
the town.
can't believe
Yes.
Ben is about to be a cartoon character. That is crazy. That's amazing. But Ben, you got the last question we want to ask her
Absolutely.
before we open up the line so we can get some other people some time to ask you
Yeah.
questions. You got question number 10, buddy.
All right. What would be the a message you would like for the world to receive and understand about autism?
Autism is amazing. Autism should not be misunderstood. Um, I think people just need to really be open and willing to understand this community of amazing kids and adults and understand their struggles, understand their fears, and understand what I'm seeing a lot on social media from neurotypical parents. Not all of them, because goodness, don't bash me for making blanket statements. I'm not making a
No,
blanket
no,
statement,
no.
but I've seen some who feel as though they're more entitled to advocate for a community when you have adults on the spectrum or doing a lot of the footwork of advocating for the generation behind them.
Mm,
Um, there needs to be unity within our community, and that goes for the professionals who have the degree, that goes for the neurotypical parents. Don't forget the parents who have autism.
hmm
Raising kids with autism, that's a whole demographic that kind of gets overlooked too.
hmm
And we just need to come together because the end goal is to build a world where we don't have to keep fighting for sensory friendly events. We don't have to keep fighting for services. We don't have to keep, and the disparity between the Black and Brown community and other communities as far as medical services that is not there, and then you have so many kids underdiagnosed because they don't have the means to get that diagnosis. You know what I'm saying? So
And
I just
I just wanted to just say, I'm hoping one day that that you, me, and when our show is on TV or if even if it's on PBS or somewhere, I'm hoping one day you get to meet Julia. Julia from Sesame Street.
Sesame, yes. You know, she's at Sesame Place sometimes, and I'll send you a picture. Levi got to meet her, and that, and I mean, I know it was a person in a costume, but like in my mind, I'm like that connection. Like I almost got emotional because it was like, yeah, it was just one of those moments. I think she's adorable. I absolutely love her.
I actually have her upstairs in my room. I have a little doll I found at Best Buy, so I went and bought it, and I said, "You're the only Sesame Street character I like because of autism."
Yeah, yeah, she's amazing.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, definitely
Maybe you read
message.
your book on Sesame Street. Maybe you're reading with Big Bird in there.
Listen, I would cry. Do you hear me? You want to see me cry on national television, Ben? I would be
But
crying.
I want
They
to
couldn't
actually
even record it.
I actually really want to make that happen. I actually do. Like we can Because
I was too busy trying to get like a group selfie with like the whole gang. Like, everybody get in. Like, come on, let's take a picture. Like, that's my whole childhood right there.
Yeah, facts. That was the early 80s babies. They know that those 70s generation, the end of it, that's what we know.
Yes. Yes.
But definitely, we want to give the audience a chance to interact with you. So at this current time, everybody who is listening to the webinar, we want to thank you again for the time, and hopefully this is doing something for you. Inspiration is mainly one of the key points, and also love. So our assistant Kaylee, what she's going to do is she's going to unmute everybody. We ask that you actually mute any background noise that you may have. If you have a question, please state your first name and direct your question to who it may be. And just take turns. Just be respectful of anybody else actually saying anything. And you got the floor. So Kaylee, with the magic touch of a button, she's going to unmute everybody. And the first person who would like to have a comment, question, or concern for Chante, Ben, or myself, you can go ahead and speak.
Hi,
Yep.
Chante.
Hi.
Hey, Alyssa.
Hi, I actually have a friend who's with me right now.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Her name is Kristen, and she has cerebral palsy.
Aw.
And,
Hi, Kristen.
hi. And we've been friends for like a year starting today.
That's
Aw.
awesome.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, I
That's
wanted
really
to ask.
awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, Alyssa, that's simply amazing. Something that the world needs to see currently right now. We
Absolutely.
definitely do need that. So it was great to actually hear that from you today. And we thank you for, like tuning in to all our shows. Alyssa is a big supporter of the Ben and Jay show. And we thank her every single time because she, makes sure she's there, and she's very, very interactive when it comes to our show. So thank you, Alyssa, for time and time again, and for bringing friends. Now we made a new
Yes.
friend. Right, you got a new friend, so we feel like we're growing our family, and that's important to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Kristen's first time watching the show. Like, I wanted to bring her on, and let her say hi.
Cool.
It's nice meeting you, Kristen. I can't see you, but I'm waving. Hi.
Hi. And I had a question for Chante.
Sure.
What inspired you, to make the book? Was it Levi that inspired it, or was it like other autistic people in general?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's an awesome question. It always started with my son. Like I was saying earlier, it really was him. But then when I was looking at a lot of films that kind of represented people that haven't been represented enough in superhero movies, and I know it sounds so cliche, but Black Panther really hit home for me. And then seeing Miles Morales and the way my son to this day, I mean, the movie came out like 3 years ago, and to this day, it has had an impact on him, and that's what I wanted to do with this book. First, to just honor my son, because I want him to like one day look back and be like, wow, my mom made a children's book about me and turned me into a superhero and gave me a superhero name that empowers everything about me. That's really just what my first inspiration came from, because I always write. When I tell people, when they write for you first, because it's going to always sound authentic and honest and truthful. And when you put your heart and soul into it, it translates when other people read it. So, while I was writing it, I just was always, having my son in the back of my mind while I was, writing it. I was writing it for other kids that I see when I'm at events, and what I see as far as discrimination online, the hatefulness towards children and adults with autism, the bullying that I've just talking with other parents, and then kids that would come up to me when I was at events that would say, I went through some bullying, and it blows my mind that how it's come even more the bullying is just more vicious than it was when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? And now with social media, it's amplified it because now you can take it online and start bullying. Before, like when I was a kid, we didn't have the. I sound so old saying it, but there wasn't the internet or social media, so all of it was straight at your face. You get on the school bus and you're like, oh, you know, trying to put gum in my hair, trying to pull my hair, or, you know, you got big lips and you're ugly. Like I went through all that too. So I was drawing from past experiences too that, you know, it's like, what book would I would have wanted when I was like 8, 9 years old? You know, what would I want as far as, you know, feeling like, oh, I got these superhero characters that they're fighting for me. You know what I'm saying? I know it kind of sounds kind of crazy thinking like that, but that's really the route that I was taking when I was writing it. So yeah. I know that's such a long-winded answer because I like to run my mouth, but I hope they answered your question.
I think that was a good answer. What about
Yeah, I
you?
wanted to piggyback what Chante said. Like, you know, bullying is not okay. And people, like Ben said, we need to be kind to one another,
Exactly.
and everybody's, unique and special like a rainbow, like he also says.
Right.
Like people deserve better in their lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And that's all I wanted to say. God bless you all.
You're
Hey,
amazing.
God bless
So
you.
much.
Thank
Get you on
you.
my show sometime.
Definitely. Don't forget to tune in on Thursday.
Oh, Kristen,
we
bye.
will.
Bye, Kristen.
Have a good
Bye,
one.
Kristen.
You too.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else want to talk?
Anybody else that want to chime in or give an opinion, ask a question to Chante, Ben, or myself, the floor is now open to you.
Oh,
I'll ask a question. This is Kaylee.
Hey,
Hey,
Kaylee.
Hey.
What's up, Kaylee? Everybody, our sister Kaylee, the one.
Yeah, Kaylee.
Haley.
Thank you.
Hey.
What's up, Kaylee?
I heard that you did online readings with your son, and I was curious if you had any planned in the recent future.
I have been thinking about it. I don't know when, but given that school is going to be almost over soon, so the slowing down of having to do schoolwork and all that stuff, I do have to go back to work in July tentatively because we don't even know what's going on now as far as patient care and my job and everything. But I would love to do it, and I still want to continue dressing up because I'm a big kid myself. So I'm brainstorming, like maybe not, because I was doing it like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I think that's a little bit too much, but I was only doing it in the beginning because it was like, well, what else are we going to do right now? Like things is just all out of whack. But I think I'll do it either once or twice a month or pick like a certain day and make it a theme. And I'll just keep it as a surprise and just have like people just join in like I did before. And I'll do giveaways like I did before. So if I see like parents are on the live with their kids, you know, they just type their name in, whatever. I'll just randomly pick people. I'll shoot them a message like, listen, I randomly picked you for a prize. Do you want a t-shirt? Do you want a book? Do you want, you know, sometimes I'll just surprise and I'll just give you a t-shirt, a book, you know, whatever. So, and I'm working on a new book. So once that's done, that might be the next giveaway. So yeah, looking for that to be finished by the end of this month. So it's going to be a coloring book for ABC girl. So she's going to take you through the alphabet, and she's going to also, which is so it's so crazy when I was writing that book that I think it's so perfect now what's going on because she's going to be talking about kindness and being nice and what autism is and all these other beautiful things that I think is going to be very inspiring and uplifting for kids right now. So, yeah.
Go.
Okay, cool. So if people were to follow you on Facebook, could they see those little live readings?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Facebook, which is Chante Douglas. You can follow me on Instagram, Echo Boys Mom 82. I go live on there too. Twitter, I'll go live on there too. So my Twitter handle is Levi's Mom 82. So I kind of switch it off. I'll do Facebook one day, then I'll do Instagram. I mean, I'm always posting where I'll be at, so it won't be like, oh, I thought she was gonna be on Facebook this day. So just if you follow me on all of that, you'll get all the updates and everything.
We want to go into the raffle time. So we actually got 2 raffles, but we also have an
A
additional
surprise.
raffle, a special one from Chante, who's going to give out, drum roll.
Dun, 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 dun.
Echo Glory,
Yes.
the book is definitely on fire right now. You're going to enjoy that book. It is definitely a must. So we are going to pick a winner for that. Ben, I'm going to let you go ahead and handle that. So you got 3 prizes to pick for.
So
You
the
got
first
Texas Roadhouse, you got
is-
Primal Nutrition, and then you got
The
Echo
Primal
Glory.
Nutrition is Rob Wesseler
Oh yeah, for what?
for the Primal Nutrition.
There you go. Congratulations. We're going to be
job.
contacting you via email. Who's the next
And the
winner?
Texas Roadhouse is Elaine Mifner?
Elaine? Okay, so we got
And
we
then
got
the winner
Elaine.
for the ABC girl
There you
is,
go.
drum roll please, Alyssa.
Oh, there you go, Alyssa.
Kristen
Just got the
Alyssa's.
children's
Oh,
book as well.
Wait, it said Kristen Alyssa's. Okay. Yeah, we could see if Kristen wants to give it to Alyssa or Alyssa wants to give it to. It's up to them.
Okay.
Oh my gosh! Thank you.
Yay. You're welcome.
We were both like, oh my god!
Matter of fact, let me see. Actually, I got 2 more copies. So Alyssa and Kristen, you'll get one, and you'll get I got magnets, so you both get a magnet, and
Oh man.
let me see what else I
No
got.
way!
Let me see, because I also got some. I got so much stuff. So I got these
Wow.
stickers. So you guys will get
Wow.
these. And these are the magnets, so you'll both get a magnet. So once I get your information from Jamiel and Ben, I'll mail that out and I'll autograph it for you. Thank you both so much for your amazing question. You both are amazing. I hope
Yeah,
you
you
both enjoyed
too.
the book.
Thank you. Thank
This
You're
got
welcome. You're very welcome.
so hype. I had to move around. That's how hype it got me. Just thinking about the prizes that they won.
Real quick, guys, I just want to say my remarks. Make sure you tune in on Thursday for a special edition of the Ben and Jay Show. Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Chante will be there. My man
will.
Jamiel Owens, my host Jamiel Owens, will be there. And also, this webinar is made possible by Access Services. And we want to thank our sponsors, Texas Roadhouse. We want to thank Primal Nutrition, ABC Echo Girl. These are brought to you by the Ben and Jay Show today. We also like to thank Access Services. Let's all be kind to one another this week, guys. I love you all. Jamiel, take it away.
Just want to say thank you for tuning in. This was an amazing interview. A lot of inspiration, a lot of different things that we actually need right now with everything that's going on. I just want to say that Thursday is a very, very important panel. It is going to be very informative, very opinionated, but very, very much needed. Please join us Thursday, 7 p.m. You can go on to Access Services on Facebook. We're going to have a panel full of law enforcement, advocates, parents, some of those that are on the actual spectrum, just speaking about what's going on and how the interactions between kids on the spectrum and law enforcement are very, very critical and needed.
And wait, Jamiel, did you hear the news?
What?
We're gonna give away a prize that day.
Oh, and we're going to give away a prize. It doesn't get any better than that. But congratulations to our winners. If you'd like to support what we do, please consider donating to Access Services at www.accessservices.org.donate. Follow us on social media for encouraging updates throughout the week. We want to say thank you to Chante for being our guest today. And also, she
Thank
will
you so
be
much.
with us Thursday to speak more about what is going on today. So, wanted to show these. These are cards that our children and our adults can actually carry, and it's for interactions with law enforcement of those that are on the spectrum. The individual that's going to be on our particular panel, his name is Tom Island. Him and his mother, Emily, actually go around and they speak to other law enforcement communities about this. So these cards, we're going to see if we can actually get them out to those individuals that will be listening, that will be watching, excuse me. If you are in need of a card, contact us here at Access Services. We will work diligently to make sure that you get one of these cards for your loved one, especially in these times that's going on right now. It's very important. I sound so much like a robot right now, but that's what we had to do. Ben, before we go, I'm going to let you go ahead first. Say your words of encouragement to lead us out, and I'm going to follow you, buddy.
I will say my quote. I already said my thank yous already. So I'm going to say having autism is not a bad thing, and it doesn't characterize who we are. Everyone is unique and special, just like a rainbow. And let's be kind to one another this week. Jamiel, take it away.
All right, well, back to the robot boys. I can't express enough the sadness that has transpired over the last couple of days with everything that's going on. I just want people to understand that it is bigger than color. It's bigger with that, and I say that with all due respect, where there's an ignorance in people that we need to get to the root of, and we need to dissolve that. Because once people dissolve of that ignorance, there's nothing else but love that can actually transpire from that. Let's work together to make this happen. Let's stop the destruction. Let's stop the violence. Let's stop the killing. Let's just put it on the table and actually do some work towards resolving racism. Let's not sugarcoat it anymore. Let's not throw it in the closet. Let's not have it be the elephant in the room. We have to do this for ourselves, and we especially have to do this for our children.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right? So I want you guys to think about that. Please join us. 7 p.m. Access Services page on Facebook, IG. You can find the link Thursday morning for our panel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It's Ben and Jay and Chante.
See you guys.
Thank you for joining us. Peace.
Love you all.